Hey everyone. So most of my friends here at Penn State probably wouldn't recognize me growing up or the environment that I really lived in. As I grew up, my eyebrows, they just got thicker. I had a big bush of hair. And I also had an accent, an Indian accent, and I almost always had a dot in the middle of my forehead. This dot was a very common Hindu custom. It's called the bindi, and it's something I wore almost every single day. I wouldn't leave the house without it. It was a part of how I looked. And until the 8th grade, that's how I portrayed myself. And, okay. So, yeah, that's me growing up. And it was really an interesting experience for me. It was really an interesting experience for me because coming to Penn State when I was 17 years old, it was an exceptional day for me because it meant for the first time in 17 years, I would be guaranteed to live in one place for 4 years. And this was huge because for the past 17 years of my life, I had moved every 3 or 4 years. I was born in India, and then when I was around 4 months old, I moved to Oman in the Middle East, and then I moved to Dubai, and then I moved to Qatar, and then I moved to Canada, and then I moved to New Jersey, and then I finally came to Penn State. So setting foot on Penn State's campus for me was that first opportunity for me to really seize the opportunity to make the most out of everything that was around me. Moving so much didn't really give me the opportunity to create a passion for myself. I had heard about this word passion, something that when you find it, you can spend countless hours doing it, you never get bored. But because I spent most of my energy getting used to a new culture, making new friends, or getting used to a new school system, I never really truly figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And Penn State for me was that opportunity to really create that for myself. So like any other overeager freshman, I arrived at Penn State and I wanted to get involved immediately. And one of the first things that I saw was the Collegian on the racks near my dorm. And I picked one up and I saw that they were hiring. So I went in and I started working for the Collegian as an account executive in their business division. And this was where I met my first Penn State senior. And I asked him, what's like the coolest thing to do at Penn State? Like, what's the big thing I should do before I graduate? And he immediately said, Thon. You have to do Thon. And, it's awesome, and you can get involved, and it's just a great thing at Penn State. So I decided to do that, and then for the past 3 years, I dedicated myself to the Collegian. I had the opportunity to serve as business manager last year. I got involved with Thon committees, had the honor of dancing last year, worked as a Smil student mentor and a line ambassador. And at the end of my 3 years at Penn State, I look back and I thought, wow, when I came to Penn State, I didn't know anything about this place. I didn't know what football, I barely understood football. I still don't really understand football. I didn't know what Thon was. I'd never heard of Joe Paterno. And now I thought I had become like a poster child of Penn State, and I'd experienced everything that the school had to offer. And then at the end of my junior year, I realized that my biggest time commitment, which was the Collegian, it was ending, and now all of a sudden I had time to do something different. And I decided to do something more like a vulnerable freshman. I decided to pursue talks and panels at Penn State. And this is when I attended one of my first talks, which was Gender and Education in the Developing World. And I just attended it on a whim. I saw it on a little poster board at the library, and I walked into the talk. It was held in the library, and there were maybe around 10 to 15 people in the audience. And the panelists came in, and they had actually flown in from Sudan, Iraq, and Pakistan. And it blew my mind that people had literally flown in from around the world to come to Penn State in the middle of Pennsylvania and talk to us about their work. And as they spoke, I realized that a lot of the things that they were talking about directly related to something I was learning in class, in my political science classes. And I thought, wow, I've never felt this way about something that I've learned, and there's maybe like 10 people here. Why isn't this part of my education? And I realized that a lot of the passion that I had felt for this university until that point had come from a lot of the things I was involved with. But in that moment, for the first time, I felt a passion for my education. And that's something that I came to the school for. I came here for my education. And that's when I made that connection between being a student and being passionate for the education that I was receiving. And I believe this change that we see and this title change that I experienced isn't something that's far-fetched. I believe this passion that I felt is something that every student should experience and is happening right in our backyards, including our tuition, and is an underground buzzword of Penn State. I think the key solution to this is truly communication. A lot of the organizers that organize these talks and panels are happening within the colleges themselves. And simple communication between them and the professors can truly make our education more engaging and interactive and inject that relevance to feel like and remind us that our career can have an impact and truly affect the world. So, what is the point of getting education? A lot of people will say a job, right? But I think in the bigger sense, we're all trying to find out what our passions are and find out how we're going to identify ourselves, not just at Penn State, but beyond it as well. So, through getting passion for your education, I believe we can truly instill that in ourselves to continue that passion throughout our time. When you registered for this conference here today, they asked you how you identify yourself within the Penn State community. I think it's interesting that the examples given were Thon volunteer or freshman student. Why wasn't the first thing that came to mind someone who's ecstatic about their education and feels engaged, feels that same excitement they feel when they go to their Thon meetings that they do when they go to class, and that relevance in their education? And I think that's the change we need to see in our education today. So I want to leave you with the question, what's your Penn State buzzword? And what engagement do you feel with your education that truly makes you feel that you're making an impact today? Thank you.